Good morning and welcome to the annual City of Chino Veterans Day ceremony. My name is Wes Simmons, Chief of Police for the City of Chino, and it is my honor to preside over today's ceremony. To begin, please stand as the Chino Valley Young Marines present the colors and remain standing for the national anthem, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and Invocation. Can we have a round of applause for our young Marines? The national anthem will be performed by Tina Hargett. Accompanying Tina is Alyssa Farrell, who will be signing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Tina and Alyssa. Now can we have Isabella Franco from Cub Scout Pack 205 come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please remove all hoods and hats. In uniform, please salute. Others, place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Thank you, Isabella. And Pastor Roy Robbins of Christ Lutheran Church, would you please join us at the podium for the invocation? And if you could please rise again.
It's an honor and a privilege to be here today. It's my second time doing this. I did the inaugural and they asked me back, so I must have done something right. Please bow your heads, join me in prayer. Today we're here to honor those that have served our country and given their lives so that we may stand here and still live in freedom. Almighty God, we ask that you constantly remind us of the gift of freedom and for those who gave, ensuring that future generations enjoy life in a free, democratic society. Lord, we give you thanks for these men and women who have defended our country and the values of freedom and justice that we hold so dear. Help us be ever mindful of the sacrifices they made and the hardships endured by their family and friends, so that we may never take for granted the privileges they've secured for us. Father, you are a God of justice, but overflowing with grace and mercy. Help us to feel your love to overflowing and to take that joy to a hurting world. Teach us to be more like you each and every day. Never let us fail to remember the less than fortunate. Thank you again for these men and women, and a special salute to the veterans in attendance here today. We lift up this prayer to you, O Lord, in the strong name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you. They don't ever clap for the pastor, do they?
Thank you, Pastor Roy. The recognition of Veterans Day is an important day for our nation. Its origin and history are an essential part of who we are as Americans. To share with us the history of Veterans Day, please welcome Jake Aptekar of Boy Scout Troop 201, who will come forward and read the history of Veterans Day.
On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918, World War I ended. This day became known as Armistice Day. In 1921, an unknown World War I American soldier was buried in Arlington National Cemetery. Similarly, unknown soldiers had been buried in England at Westminster Abbey and at France at the Arc de Triomphe. All these memorials took place on November 11th to commemorate the end of the war to end all wars. In 1926, Congress was resolved to officially call November 11th Armistice Day. Then in 1938, the day was named a national holiday. Soon afterwards, war broke out in Europe and World War II began. Soon after the end of World War II, a veteran of that war named Raymond Weeks organized National Veterans Day, with a parade and festivities to honor all veterans. He chose to hold this on Armistice Day. Thus began annual observance of a day to honor all veterans, not just the end of World War I. In 1954, Congress officially passed and President Dwight Eisenhower signed a bill proclaiming November 11th as Veterans Day. Due to his part in the creation of this national holiday, Raymond Weeks received the Presidential Citizens Medal from President Ronald Reagan in November 1982. In 1968, Congress changed the national commemoration of Veterans Day to the fourth Monday in October. However, the significance of November 11th was such that the change date never really got established. In 1978, Congress returned the observance of Veterans Day to its traditional date. That's the history of Veterans Day.
Thank you, Jake. The 5 branches of the United States Armed Forces each have their own flag. To honor these 5 branches, we have asked family members to represent each branch and everyone who is currently serving or who has served. Each flag will be posted next to their branch within the Liberty Courtyard. We begin with the flag of the United States Army. Representing the United States Army and First Lieutenant Christian Juarez is his wife, Jeanette Juarez. If you or a loved one are currently serving or have served in the United States Army, Please stand while we post the Army flag. This we will defend. Thank you. You may be seated. Next, we have the flag of the United States Marine Corps. The United States Marine Corps is especially meaningful to me, as my late father is a Marine veteran who served from 1956 to 1960. Representing the United States Marine Corps and the Young Marines is Sergeant Luis Alvarez. Semper Fidelis, always faithful. Thank you. Next, we have the flag of the United States Navy. Representing the United States Navy and Master at Arms Seaman Tanner Hobenseefiken is his mother Denise and father Mike Hobenseefiken. Thank you. Semper Fortis, always courageous. Thank you. You may be seated. Next, we have the flag of the United States Air Force. Representing the United States Air Force and Air Force Captain Austin Fekete is his mother Susan Fekete, whose daughter is a Second Lieutenant Alexandra Fekete and serves in the U.S. Army. If you or a loved one are currently serving or have served in the United States Air Force, please stand while we post the Air Force flag. Aim high, fly, fight, win. Thank you. You may be seated. To conclude, we have the United States Coast Guard, and representing the United States Coast Guard and Chief Petty Officer Michael Weezar is his daughters Caitlin Weezar and Anessa Weezar. If you or a loved one are currently serving or have served in the United States Coast Guard, please stand for the posting of the Coast Guard flag. Semper Paratus, always ready. Thank you. You may be seated. Please join me in thanking each of the Armed Forces families for honoring their family member and our veterans. You may be seated as well. It is my pleasure now to take a moment and welcome some of our special guests joining us today. Representing County Supervisor Kurt Hagman's office, Melissa Campani. Planning Commissioners Curtis Burton and Lisa Fraga. Thank you. Community Services Commissioners Neil Jerry and Brenda Strong. Chino Valley Fire District Board of Director Harvey Luth. And Chino Valley Fire District Chief Dave Williams. I'd also like to point out 2 members from the Chiefs Community Roundtable who you already met, Pastor Roy Robbins and Susan Feckety. Thank you guys for being here. But of course, the most important guests who are here today are our veterans. If you are a veteran, please stand one more time so we can recognize each of you collectively. Thank you all for your service. At this time, I'd like to invite up Mayor Pro Tem Mark Lucio to share some special words about Veterans Day.
Thank you, Wes. I'd like to also extend Mayor Eunice Giola couldn't make it today. She's not feeling well, so I'm here for her. But I also want to acknowledge some of our city council members. City Council Person Karen Comstock. City Council Person Walt Pocock. City Council Person Christopher Flores. And our City Council Person-elect Curtis Burton. And our City Manager Linda Wright. I am Chino Mayor Pro Tem Mark Lucio. It is my honor to be joining you for our annual Veterans Day ceremony. As it has come to our custom, we are recording the ceremony so that it can be shared with our veterans and wherever they may be. Our nation continues to struggle with challenges that hit the most vulnerable hardest, including our older veterans and those away from their families. Today, we try to bridge that divide by focusing our thoughts and prayers on them, their families. Let's remember to reach out to our veterans, to visit or write a note, share a kind word, and make an emotional connection with a veteran to let them know they are not forgotten. Today, we honor the heroes that are entrusted with protecting our nation, the U.S. military. Our veterans, active duty service members, guardsmen, and reservists, it is your service and sacrifice that has kept our country safe and free. Wherever you are, please know that we salute and appreciate you. No matter which branch, whatever your job path, or how many years you served, you committed the most precious resource, your time, to protect our shores, our liberty, and our way of life. You did this with great personal sacrifice. Some of you left our country to fight in foreign lands. Others had to find yourselves in a faraway ocean or doing behind-the-scenes work that is vital to our military while leaving your families and homes so that we can sleep in peace. Each one of you joined for different reasons at different times in your lives, and some that served decades ago may have not enlisted but were drafted in a duty-filled, fulfilling your responsibilities out of the sense of respect to our nation and its principles. War and preparation for war takes a toll. Veterans today, we want you to know that we acknowledge and appreciate your sacrifices that you have made and continue to make. There are banners throughout our cities with the name of members of our Chino community that serve in the armed forces. Currently, 203 banners hang as part of the city's military banner program. Of these, 59 serve in the Army, 49 in the Marines, 34 in the Air Force, 53 in the Navy, 5 in the Coast Guard, and 3 in the National Guard. Since the program's inception, the names of 445 participants have been proudly displayed to honor their service and to ensure that they remain in our thoughts and prayers. Sadly, it isn't just the battlefield that claims some of our veterans. Some endure hardships of combat, while others are left to combat the emotional scars of distance and isolation. Whether it is young men and women actively serving for the first time, or those who have dedicated their careers to the military, today it's about celebrating them as individuals. It isn't just military prowess, the high-tech equipment that keep us safe and protect our great nation. It is also the faces of all colors and backgrounds that deliver assistance to vulnerable children and civilians around the world, that design, engineer, and build, that keep peace and deal with the ugliness of war when they're called to duty. Veterans are defenders of our freedom, protectors of our principles, unofficial diplomats, emissaries of justice, and guardians of American democracy. Thank you, veterans, for all you do, and thank you, Chino, for joining us to acknowledge them and express our gratitude. May God hold you in the palms of his hands and keep you safe no matter where you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Lucio. The Chino Police Department has a long history of hiring veterans because of the amazing leadership and technical skills they bring to the workplace. Our guest speaker today is a veteran of the United States Marine Corps and a current sergeant with the Chino Police Department, and a first-generation American whose parents immigrated here from Mexico. Sergeant Jesus Jaquez served in the United States Marine Corps from June of 1998 to November of 2010. During his tenure, he earned 2 meritorious promotions. He received numerous awards to include the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal with a Combat V, the Army Achievement Medal, Kosovo Campaign Medal, Operation Iraqi Freedom Medal, Sea Service Deployment Ribbon, and a Combat Action Ribbon. He achieved the rank of Gunnery Sergeant and completed numerous overseas deployments to include 4 combat tours to Iraq and Kosovo. Sergeant Jaquez began his career with the Chino Police Department in 2008. During his tenure with our department, he has earned 2 bravery awards for his assistance during armed confrontations with criminals. He's earned the Beat Cop of the Quarter commendation, the Chief Stewart Leadership Coin for his many contributions to the department while on and off duty, and several other awards and accolades for his hard work, decision-making, and diligence. Sergeant Jaquez has held multiple assignments at our department to include narcotics investigator, task force officer, drug enforcement administration at the Drug Enforcement Administration, investigator, detective, professional standards sergeant, and patrol supervisor. Currently, Sergeant Jaquez is a team leader on our Chino Police Department Special Weapons and Tactics team, better known as SWAT. He also oversees the department's Youth Explorer program and is a patrol supervisor. In his spare time, which isn't much, Sergeant Jaquez enjoys spending time with his family and coaching his kids' baseball team. Please welcome Sergeant Jesus Jaquez.
A few days ago, I was asked to speak at today's ceremony. My first thoughts were, of course, I will be honored. But then I went home at the end of my shift, and I asked myself, what makes me so special to address a group of fellow veterans, their families, and their friends? How am I in any way qualified? What would anyone listen to what I have to say? And so I grew a little bit nervous. To be completely honest, as I stand here before you, I don't have the answers to those questions. But what I do know is that as a U.S. Marine, I've had the honor and the privilege to personally live through similar, if not the same experiences as some of our veterans here today. I have firsthand knowledge of the sacrifices our men and women in uniform have made. In addition, one of my boys who served in the United States Marine Corps also deployed to Iraq, just like I did. Another one of my boys is currently serving in the United States Coast Guard, and a third one is getting ready to start basic training in the United States Army. So now, thank you. So now, as I've grown older and wiser, I have a greater understanding, respect, and appreciation for the families of our military personnel, as I've also experienced the hardships of having a loved one serving in our military forces. And to make things even a little bit more interesting, I am married to a beautiful woman who also served in the United States Army and deployed to Afghanistan. If you ask her, she will tell you that at home, she is the sergeant major and she is the commanding officer. Heck, my wife will even go as far as telling you that she is the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Veterans, families, and friends, community members, my name is Jesus Jaquez, and I am honored and humbled by the opportunity to share this special event with you today. November 11 is a day for all Americans. However, there's a special group of people who deserve special recognition today and every day. I'm speaking of our veterans, who during peacetime or in combat, they did their best to defend liberty, and they sought to build a better world. Those men and women were ordinary people until they heard the call for duty and answered it. They left their families, their homes, their lives, not for recognition or fame, but to protect our country and maintain our way of life. The good men and women we honor today have come from all walks of life, but they shared several fundamental qualities, such as honor, courage, commitment, selflessness, integrity, and dedication to duty, all the qualities that are needed to serve a cause larger than oneself. Many of them didn't ask to leave their homes to serve overseas. Many of them didn't even volunteer, and they definitely didn't go to war because they love fighting. They were called to be a part of something bigger than themselves. They were ordinary people who responded in extraordinary ways to extreme circumstances. They rose to the nation's call because they wanted to protect the nation which has given them and given us our freedom. You see, freedom, for those of us who have fought for it, has a very special meaning. This love for freedom lies deep within our heart and soul, and it is what makes us unique. The sacrifices made by a few good men and women in the name of freedom have made this nation what it is today. These few men and women are our heroes. But defending our freedom is not just for those in the military. Each and every one of us shares that duty and responsibility. How, you might ask yourself? Well, you don't have to join the Army or the Marines or any other organization to actively defend our way of life. We can protect our freedom simply by keeping it here in America. You can protect our freedom by you can protect our freedoms by putting them into action. For example, by speaking out against injustices, voting on election day, and by participating on events like today. But perhaps the best way to protect our liberties is by teaching our children everything about the American way of life and what it really means to be a free American. At the conclusion of the ceremony, and every day hereafter, please take a few seconds from your day and thank those who have served our nation. How can you tell if someone has served? Well, that's also very simple. You can always spot a service member from a mile away. We typically walk a little taller. We move with a sense of purpose. We hurry up and wait. We address others as sir or ma'am, and we usually eat a little faster than everyone else. But if nothing else is telling, us veterans are proud Americans, and we fly our colors with pride. To our veterans and their families, today and every day, I appreciate your selfless service to a grateful nation. And I celebrate our freedoms you have protected. Thank you for listening. God bless our veterans, and God bless America. And as the late General Colin Powell once said, ladies and gentlemen, a salute to all American veterans.
Thank you, Sergeant Jaquez, for sharing with us today. We are grateful to you and your family for your selfless service to our country and our community. As a tribute to our great heroes, I'd like to ask Matthew Ebenez of Boy Scout Troop 201 to come forward and read the poem titled Veterans Day.
On Veterans Day, we honor all who answered to a service call. Soldiers young and soldiers old fought for freedom, brave and bold. Some have lived while others died, and all of them deserve our pride. We're proud of all the soldiers who kept thinking of red, white, and blue. They fought for us and all our rights. They fought through many days and nights. And though we may not know each name, we think all veterans are just the same. That is the Veterans Day poem.
Thank you, Matthew. At the City of Chino Council meeting on November 1st, the council presented a proclamation continuing to recognize Chino as a Purple Heart City. The purpose and meaning of a city being called a Purple Heart City is to honor and remember military personnel wounded or killed in combat with hostile forces. The Purple Heart is specifically a combat decoration, and it was first created by General George Washington in 1782 and was known as the Badge of Military Merit and is the nation's oldest military medal. The citizens of the City of Chino have great admiration and utmost gratitude for all the men and women who have selflessly served their country and community in the armed forces. Veterans have paid the high price of freedom by leaving their families and communities and placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all. The contributions and sacrifices of the men and women from the City of Chino who served in the armed forces has been vital in defending the hard-won freedoms and liberties which we embody in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States of America. The Purple Heart is awarded to those members of the armed forces of the United States that have been wounded by an instrument of war in the hands of the enemy or posthumously to the next of kin in the name of those killed in action or those who have died of their wounds in service to their country. As a continued tradition here today, we would like to ask all Purple Heart recipients or their family members of Purple Heart recipients to please stand and be recognized. Thank you so much. The City of Chino has created a dedicated webpage on the city's website to our Purple Heart recipients. For more information, please visit www.cityofchino.org/Purple Heart. For those in attendance, information will be passed out at the conclusion of this ceremony. We would now like to honor our great country with another song. Please stand as Tina Hargett, accompanied by Alyssa Farrell, perform God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you both so much. The City of Chino has created, please have a seat. The City of Chino has created so many traditions over the years, and the Veterans Day ceremony is another strong example of our community's dedication to our military. As we conclude today's ceremony, we'd like to thank the Southern California Military Vehicle Collectors Club for providing the various vehicles on display. As part of today's ceremony, the Old Schoolhouse Museum, which is located just east of here at B and 11th Street, will be open until 2 p.m. Please stop by to see not only the various artifacts of Chino, but a special military display presented by Art and Jill Hernandez. Also, the Chino American Legion Post 299 will host an open house at the conclusion of today's ceremony. Please feel free to drop by and gather information about the many services available to active and retired service members of the American Legion, located on Central Avenue, just south of Schaefer at 13759 Central. Can we also thank our 2 volunteers who conducted the signing for us today? To our military families who also sacrifice so your loved ones can serve, we again thank you. Lastly, to our veterans whose service and sacrifice we will never take for granted, we offer our humblest thank you, and my prayer is that each of us will live a life worthy of all you have done for us and our great country. This concludes our ceremony for today, and on behalf of the City of Chino, thank you all for joining us.